Yes, here we go. T.N.F time. It is 6:25 on Thursday, the 30th of January. It is myself. And of course, on a Thursday, the judge is in town. We've got a lot to get through tonight, Mark, because so much is happening in the Celtic sphere now. It's hard to keep up with it all. There's obviously a transfer window that's ongoing. There's been a major departure in the last week. We want your thoughts on that. There's been a major arrival in the return of a former hero. We've then had the small matter of an all-British clash in the Champions League, albeit we were already through by then, away from home last night. We want your takes on that. There's obviously we were just talking about it off air, the conflicting stories in the old Twitter, the Telegraph running with a story about KT will remain at Arsenal, and then not Romanov, what am I talking about? Fabrizio Romano, almost in retort, then doing a cryptic tweet with the KT story he was pushing a few days ago. He's re-quoted it with a tick and the Celtic logo and hashtag Celtic. So it looks like he is disagreeing with that paper story. So we'll get your thoughts on that and everyone in the comments. Where do we stand? And of course, there's other links as well that we're hearing about. There's the winger whose name's escaping that begins with an S, relatively unknown quantity. Apparently, we bid for him, although Rodgers, was it a Sved moment? But he didn't know anything about it or just playing it down. And of course, the Fitzgarden story, I don't know if that's pronounced right. He seems to be going arms and legs. And if it were to happen, we look like the full Kyogo money is being basically recycled into a player that maybe Rodgers fancies a bit more. And we can get into that. And anything else you want, because remember, the T.N.F is the night we hand over the keys to use, and it is the night where you get as many points up as you can, and we try and tackle them all in Mark's forthright style, and I kind of just running along with it. If I can take the piss at some point, I will. Remember, all that good stuff means do join us as a Boise Bus member if you want. It's $1.99 a month, but all our content is free. Remember, the most important thing, hit that subscribe button. We're way over the 5,000 mark now. After waiting what felt like an eternity to hit 5,000, we've now just we're leaving it for dust. Remember as well, if you are a subscriber, hit the bell button beside subscribe and you never miss a bus. And there are plenty of episodes that we're doing each week. Piesports.com, 12.5% off. We're using the code BUS18888. I think that's us, mate. I think that's us. Like, share, buy some hair, something like that. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing very well, mate. I enjoyed last night's football, to be honest with you. I thought the game itself was a brilliant game, to be honest. We missed penalties. Fucking just a wild game of football. I thought Celtic, at no point did I think Celtic were out the match, you know what I mean? And in the 91st minute, I thought we'd won more chances. In fact, the goal we lost, I think it was a kind of rush throw in or whatever to try and get it up the park. I think Celtic thought they'd won more chances and we never got it. Or we'll never know what was going to happen. But I don't know, I thought it was quite encouraging. Like Aston Villa had everything to play for. We didn't really. We were content with where we were in the world.
It was a pie in the sky chance of us making top 8, wasn't it? So
it was, mate. It was just a case that if we got a point, perhaps maybe get ourselves up the table a wee bit more and try and get ourselves an easier draw. But they're all difficult. But even at that, you know what I mean? I actually think if we won last night, we could have probably ended up with I was going to say a tougher draw, but I thought you can get tougher. But we could have ended up with a Man City instead of Real Madrid. And you're talking 6.5 a dozen there, you know what I mean? I think when you get to this level, the chances are you might get a PSG or a Real Madrid or a Dortmund again or a Barcelona. The chances of getting these teams are pretty high. So if only 8 can go through automatically, there's going to be a few, 16 more that can. So I'm quite content with where we were last night. And to be honest with you, it's the first time I've watched a European game and I was pretty gutted when we lost that fourth goal. I went, oh, fuck. I was like, oh, I felt gutted, deflated a wee bit. I don't really feel that way all the time in Europe, especially away from. So it just shows you how close we must have been. And English teams did add a bit of spice to the game. I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant to hear when you say that, Mark, because obviously regular viewers who've been watching the bus for years now, as it's been remembered, my big mission for you was to get you out of apathy towards Europe, albeit I understood where you were coming from when we talked about our lack of effort to make an impact in Europe, our lack of ambition when it came to Europe, our admission that we budgeted for Europa League, albeit we were winning the title every year. It it was understandable, the apathy. So I think to hear when we're playing a side that's finished top 4 in England last year, that got an excellent manager, an elite level manager who's won, European trophies, I think, in his career. And they've got a very well invested squad, let's be honest, and a lot of top players. I think it's brilliant when you're now saying, I was gutted when that goal went in. And it's actually a game, as you rightfully say, it wasn't a dead rubber, but didn't mean make or break when we conceded that goal. Yet you're still feeling that emotion now, because that tells you subconsciously along the way there is, even with yourself, a belief that Celtic are more capable than they have been for a long time of doing something in Europe and inspiring you again. And that's then how it leads to feelings of the likes of disappointment and things like that when it doesn't go your way. And that always backed your view on that, in the sense of I understood exactly where you're coming from, because it was based on evidence. But I think that tells me a hell of a lot about the small steps Celtic have made so far in Europe, that you're beginning to get those sort of overriding emotions again. Alan Mott was in the chat asking where Paddy was. Of course, he's in the background when I'm on the podcast. It's the only time he goes up there. It's only ever when I'm doing the podcast. I think he just loves being in the. But yeah, Mark, let's look at last night first and foremost, then we'll talk about the transfers, and there's loads to get through with that. Basically, when it comes to that game last night, I think on paper that was as tricky a one of the 8 that we had. Dortmund away, Villa away, they were the ones that you thought it's unlikely we'll get anything from those. But we went into it a free hit, essentially. But what I will credit Celtic on is they did it without their number 1 by a country mile centre-back. They did it without, I think, probably the second favourite for Player of the Year, Dyson Maeda. And they did it with selling Kyogo. And an out-of-form Ademida started that game. He's not out of form now, but an out-of-form Ademida we had to rely on up front. So, realistically, if you didn't think we had much of a chance at the start of the campaign when the draw was made for Villa away, and I think, remember, we did the live show right after the draw was made, and I think we both were in agreement that we hope it doesn't come down to the Villa game mattering, because that'll be really, really tough. I thought Celtic gave a good account of themselves last night. Yeah, people could point to there's a clearance off the line, Schmeichel saves. I mean, imagine some of people's reactions if they actually watched the full 90 minutes of each game we played in the Seville run. And they'd realise, despite how good a team we were, Mark, there was many moments we were backs to the wall, scrambling about, goal line clearances with headers, last-ditch tackles, save after saves, or woodwork coming to help you. That's part and parcel of it. But what I really liked, and I think you've actually kind of touched on, when we were on the ball, I thought we looked a good side. Even for the opening minute, I thought we played with confidence that I think we didn't play with in Dortmund. That I think by not trying to overplay in Atalanta, but got a result rather than just focusing on our ideologies, our philosophies, all that pish. I think that's bred confidence as the tournaments went on. And I think you've seen that last night. Even at 2-0, Celtic never played like they were 2-0 down in that first half at any point when they were on the ball. The big difference for me in the teams is when Villa were on the ball, they're a level up in quality. And when Villa didn't have the ball, they were a level up in quality, if that makes sense. But I was very happy with the attitude Celtic showed and the bravery they showed on the ball. It doesn't come easy at this level to be like that. It's natural that you're up against it or you have a shocker of a start like that and you go in your shell. Celtic players had their chins in there, mate, and were looking for that ball. And I thought we passed it about really tidily. As I say, out of possession, it was always going to be tricky. And there is improvement to be made. But I also think the level of the opposition has to come into play with that debate as well.
Well, when you think, I'd say a good 80% of the EPL teams will go to Villa Park and lose, and they'll go to Villa Park and probably be on the back foot quite a lot. So just because we're a Scottish team doesn't mean that it's only unique to us. Got to teams, places like that, and struggling. The first 2 goals we lost, you see that every week in the EPL. Sunday with 2-0 down within 6 minutes. Doesn't mean the opposition are rid rotten. It's just sometimes that can happen to you. But it's very rarely these teams come back. We showed a bit of character and come back. I feel like the Dortmund game, I think, was character making for Celtic. I think Celtic needed that. We needed that pounding. I think the team definitely learned for that. It's hard to take and it's hard to watch, no doubt about it, but I think sometimes these wee things can be a benefit in the long run. And last night, 2-0 doing that, I was going to switch it off. 9 times out of 10, I've switched it off and just went about my business, but I didn't. For whatever reason, then we managed to get a goal back, and then 2 minutes later, we got another goal back. That shows good character. In fact, the camera showed you that Unai Emery, after the first goal, and he's telling the players to calm down and keep the heat. As soon as the camera panned away from him, we scored again. Then he made the exact same gestures. So even he could see that they were a bit spooked by how Celtic were playing. I thought Callum McGregor, I think the midfield, I think he looked just as good as anybody in that midfield. He was just so composed. He didn't look flustered on the ball at all. I don't think Celtic looked. I see you watch Celtic away from home in Europe, and you can watch. You can just say, right, there's a gulf straight away here. We panic on the ball, we rush on the ball, we hit the ball for throw-ins. We do things we don't normally do in Scotland. I didn't see a lot of that last night. I genuinely didn't see a lot of that last night. Are they a better team than us? Aye. But I would love to have seen Maeda run it there right back and put him under pressure. I'd love to have seen Kyogo's movement, although Alameda, again, I think that goal we got against, but he needed that goal. Sometimes these goals you need. I remember I
Young
said,
boys burn.
you need one to go in for 30 yards off his arse or something. You need something like that. And I felt like it was going to come from one of the goals, but he did. He go to it, and the performance last night definitely. And there was one that I think he could have cut it back to Palmer. Palmer probably had a tap in. You know, I thought to myself, if that was Kuhn, that's going right back across the goal, and we get the equaliser at 3 each. And we also had a chance with Hattati. If Hattati's 1 metre closer to the goals, that ball curls in the net rather than by the post. Hattati again was brilliant last night. Again, he's shown his worth in the last couple of games in Europe, beginning to shut people up like myself who are writing him off because his performances are maybe 5 out of 100 rather than 50-50. You know what I mean? It's 5% of the time. But I want him to prove me wrong. I want him to perform like that. I thought, I mean, we had second choice players now elevated to first choice, and we're now bringing on second choice players as subs who should be third or fourth choice. But all of that aside, Celtic still looked competitive last night. I think the 2 boys that coming didn't really have much today. I thought the young centre back. 3 weeks ago, he's playing for Queen's Park. Let's get one thing right here. The guy's not going to come in, but I just thought it was Pollock Park style. That is just something that is about levels or quality. It was just a stupid mistake the boy made, and he might not make it a game for Celtic. But the fact of the matter is, we were reduced to bringing on probably about 4th, 5th, 6th choice players, boys. You know what I mean? And we still. Genuinely, I felt I'll never know the answer, but I genuinely felt that we'd 1 more chance in us in that injury time. I just thought, get a ball up the park, we'll have 1 more chance. I just had it in my head, and it was taken away from us by a bit of mistake. And you got to praise that boy for getting in, just snatching the ball. That's something that we'd praise Maeda for doing. So we've got to praise that boy for doing it. They had a lot of quality in certain players, but boys, I didn't see a lot of. This is a team that's top 4, top 5, and 4 maybe flattered us, but I also think 4-2 kind of suggests that the game was out of sight for a long time, which it wasn't. But also, I didn't see a lot of massive quality difference. They're at home. There's things that you've got to remember. They're at home, right? Forget about money. They're at home. They had a lot to play for. They had the majority of their fans. They had a bit more quality in the areas that it mattered. You know what I mean? Celtic didn't have any of that. They were reduced to the bare bones. The bench last night was quite galling, you know what I mean? And we still looked decent. And I think that if we had, this is the frustrating part. We'll get into the transfer window. I'm pretty sure we will. This is the frustrating part. We've seen games like this where you say to yourself, if we had that 5-10% more quality, we could have got a result there. You know what I mean? And I don't think a result for Celtic was that far away last night. Genuinely didn't. My dad seems to think it was 4-12. But what I will say is there was a chance at the back post that went straight to their keeper. That's another goal for Celtic if that goes in. I thought Hatate had a good chance. I thought in the
Attack
first
had a
half,
very good chance. Very
Hatate
good
had
chance.
2 very good chances. I think he scores that in Scotland. And I think the one that they went by the post, that was just culling out the way. He'd had a chance as well. He could have squared it to Palmer. And also, I think it was Yang had a chance. So we had goals in us apart from the 2 we scored. And I'd probably say the 2 goals we scored were as much as good a quality as the goals they scored. The second goal for Villa was a beautiful finish to watch on TV, but when you seen the replay, it took a deflection off scales. So in terms of the quality of finishing last night, Celtic, I mean that second move, that touch for the angles, that movement for Adamida was beautiful and all. I thought Hatate's movement a couple of times was really exciting to watch and all. And I've got to praise these guys because I slag them when they play bad. So I try my best not to be two-faced. If they play well, I think they deserve to get praised, you know what I mean? And ironically, as much as I thought Engels played last night, I think you've got to take that man out, Boise. I think, but that's in Europe. Next time he probably takes that boy out. I remember Juranovic, I think, a few years ago, when we were away from home, we were playing pretty well in a tough place. I can't remember what it was now. We were attacking a team, and Juranovic did the exact same thing where they just kind of bounced after the player rather than taking them out. I think it was that boy ended up at Chelsea, and he flopped. But with Shakhtar Donetsk, it was, and but you learn for this. And I don't think last night was forget Scotland and England and all the rivalry aside. I don't think anybody could watch last night and start to draw comparisons with us in name in terms of the financial golf and quality. That was a proper Champions League game of football. The commentators were salivating. They were saying, "This what a game this is." Neil Lennon, hats off. I thought he was an outstanding co-commentator. I hear a lot of stuff about him, but as far as I'm concerned, I thought if he's got a place in football, he should stick to that because I thought he was excellent. But just goes very
His
quickly again.
analysis is superb, to be fair.
It's very good.
It genuinely is.
I'm not talking about your Alan McCoist full of jokes and full of wee one-liners and your Chris Sutton piss takes and your James McFadden waffling and the rest of it. That's just proper insightful stuff you're getting off of Neil Lennon, you know what I mean? And I can see why ex-players talk so highly about this guy, talk about how good he is as a manager and the rest of it. And history as we've written with that guy, I think he's a better manager than even people like myself give him credit for. But I thought last night it was well worth a listen. I really enjoyed listening to him. I'm not going to lie to you. But it was just a good game of football. And see, the thing is, I can even handle last night, and I think always can. But the real measure of our progression in Europe was we're beating Bratislava, we're beating young boys, we're getting the odd result against teams like Leipzig. That's all we want. The next step is to try and sneak a wee point at Atalanta. We got that and all. But I just think this campaign, I think it will come to an end in these two games against Madrid or Bayern Munich. But do something that's always going to be the case anyway. Do you know what I mean? No matter who we go, probably was going to be a step too far. But in terms of progression of the team, enjoyable football, competitiveness, one game against Dortmund aside, Celtic have more than matched opposition in the Champions League. Atalanta away showed a different side of what you see in Europe. Teams go to places like that, left, right, and centre in Europe and in Italy, and they go to these places and they stink the place out and get results. Celtic did it as a one-half, you know what I mean? They got a result. That's European football. You've got to sometimes go to these places and stink the place out. And I just think if you're looking at progression, forget about the playoff round. I think just own the part. We're beating what we should beat, and we're competing against higher level opposition. I don't think you can ask for more in Scottish football with a budget of £2 million for winning the league. I don't think you can ask for more than that.
No, there's a lot to cover there, but I totally agree with you.
Oh, sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. Thinking about what you've covered makes total sense, mate. It was a genuine synopsis of where we're at, as well as, sort of combine it with the game itself. The tagline of the show is, "Can small steps become giant strides in Europe?" And the one thing that we wanted in the Champions League, when you're on your third year in a row in it, Matt, you need to see progress. And I felt last year, albeit we won a dead rubber against Feyenoord and it was our only win, I felt the performance levels had went up overall. It wasn't spells. It was like over the game. I know there was the bad defeat to Atletico, but again, the Maeda red card plays a huge part in that. I think though this year what we've done is the small steps have all been taken, but to make them giant strides, as we're talking about it on the show, you need to then continually be succession planning. Now, not only that, you need to be a bit of luck. You need Maeda fit. You need Cameron Carter-Vickers fit. But we've also already seen that Rodgers' plan is for next year to strengthen is we're now going to have Jota, Maeda, and Nicholas Kuhn, albeit there could be transfers in the summer. But right now, as it stands, that's succession plan. KT coming in as your left back. That's now going to the next level. If he gets his 10 million man and he thinks the one he sold for 10 million was on the wane, that's evolving. If he thinks he's going to get Adam Ida in beast mode like he was last night on a regular basis at Champions League level, okay, cool. But we were never going to be able to overnight jump from a side that were also rans in the Champions League, just sort of there making up the numbers, the last few attempts, to then suddenly this stable, all-round good outfit. It's going to be stepping stones. There's going to be bricks that you need to lay and foundations laid, and then you can see the evolution. But I've already seen the steps that we've taken, and I'm also now beginning to believe Brendan, with his chessboard, is trying to make the strides. And I think that is when you go for that next level player. And we've spoken about this before on here. KT is a next level player for Celtic. That's a next level player from what we've currently got.
He's next level for Aston Villa. No, I mean
yeah,
Celtic.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. I look at Jota and I go, compare that with other options in the wing bar, a first choice pair. That's a million levels above what we've got coming. Yang starting last night to Jota starting. That is leveling up again. I'm excited by the fact Rodgers' focus is what I'd hoped for when he got the job, and why we thought, why has he came back? Why would you come back if the reason you left last time was because you were rightfully so fucked off with certain lack of belief from the board and lack of backing? And we speculated at the time he must have an eye on Europe. He's not coming back to win the domestic trophies all over again. To feel better about yourself. He's obviously been given some sort of assurances, or he's had more positive conversations. If I come back, the one thing on my Celtic to-do list from the last time is make a dent in Europe. Last year, Brendan Light cost him in Europe. This season, with 2 windows that I think he's been probably rejecting a lot of players. I think people forget that bit. Yeah, we only signed 2 last January. We knew he wanted 4. But who's to say he wasn't offered at least another 2 and thought, I'm just bringing in the 2 guys that I actually want. See these other ones that you've suggested, if they're not good enough, I'm going to say no from now on. You know what I mean? You had your fun in the summer. It turns out they went up to it. When I look at this summer's window, ahead of this season, they're all involved. Every one of them's involved. And I look at the age profile of them all as well. Mid-20s now, Mark. Mid-20s, late 20s, Schmeichel's age, late 30s. But they're all there to impact that first team. So if this is the building blocks he's putting in place, I think the real tragedy for Celtic is they don't have automatic group stage football next year. And that comes back to the board, by the way. That's what happens when you don't get the gift of 3 years in a row group stage football and only really target doing well in it in the final year, but you've already blown it with the coefficient before then. Because that would be really sad to see this progression hampered if the playoff round, which again could be a complete lottery, doesn't go the way you want. But the point I'm trying to make here is, if I look at what I seen from Celtic last night and was as enthused as you were, and then I go, Jota, CCV, Maeda, a potential 10 million striker, KT, all to be sort of added to that mix. Not saying they all necessarily start, but in that competition, suddenly that bench you were talking about there has went tenfold. And the first team strengthened as well as that. And there'll be more. Or you would like to think there'll be more. If Rodgers really is as behind the wheel as what I'm hoping. I could be back to summer 2023, Boise. Who knows? But right now, I think I take a lot of comfort from what we didn't have last night, which I know we either do have in the locker already, like CCV and Maeda, and Jota, albeit Jota couldn't be used, and what we will have with the likes of KT and hopefully a striker joining as well before this window shuts. I'm enthused by those missing parts being added to what already was a Celtic side that had grown, completely grown, and got a good result. The whole campaign, Mark, we've seen different sides to Celtic as well. That's one of the other pleasing bits for me. 2-0 down. What was my worry last season? We don't deal with adversity well. Now we are 2-0 down. So there's a mindset shift, and I think the level of personnel, slowly but surely, is going up. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say.
Oh, spot on. You can't just go for being also rans to also contenders, boys. So, you know what I mean? You've got to be a middle ground somewhere. And I'm not expecting Celtic to be also contenders. We'll get there slowly but surely. We'll turn ourselves into a team that can compete at to a certain degree in Europe. And that's what we want to see, you know what I mean? Does that mean pushing towards the last 16 in a year or so's time? Then great. That's great, you know what I mean? And we a kind of draw, but we a kind of last 16, we a kind of playoff draw, like a Feyenoord, my dad mentioned Feyenoord or an Ajax, something like that, if they were in it. We could take teams like that on, you know what I mean? Bayern Munich, I mean, there's a potential, there's a 10% chance that you could beat Bayern Munich as well. We just get a tough draw, but looks at. But in terms of the teams we played, Atalanta was a strange one to see. I don't know. I was stuck in an airport. I never seen the match, but by all accounts, we were defensive and more pragmatic. I think the word's used, but that's a different side to Celtic you don't see very often. I thought this to beat Leipzig the way we did, to totally dominate a team of that standard. You heard Callum McGregor talk about it last night.
Did we go behind that game?
I think they did. They scored pretty early. But see, and then I think we got a goal chopped off as well. We got a goal chopped off to make it 4-1. But McGregor was saying that they players just stop running. He said that is you don't see that very often. You know you're doing well when their teams just stop trying to match you. And I remember one of their players saying we just couldn't match it. We just couldn't match the intensity of the Celtic team. And I've not seen that before at Celtic, or at least for a while. And the different approach for Kusha Zagreb for talking sake, I thought we were quite tentative that match. But see, normally we go there and try and battle that team and end up losing 2-3-0. I mean, but they go to the point. See, that's the thing, that sometimes you go to just say, right, don't get beat here. As a manager, there becomes a time where you say, if you can't win it, don't lose it. And we saw that side to it as well. So I did get your point in terms of that. But we did see different sides. You've got to have more than just a right hook to be a boxer, boys. I mean, and the same as football, you've got to have so many different levels and so many different strengths to your bow to compete at all these different levels. You know what I mean? Sometimes playing a Bruges at home can be as hard as playing a Barcelona away. These teams, I don't mean physically and literally. I mean, sometimes the test itself can be just as difficult. You know what I mean? And Celtic have shown that they have got different sides to them. So I did get your point that way. And
is it also as well? See, just the two teams you mentioned there. Just want to jump in, just so it. We also give a wee bit of kudos to these sides that didn't get all that much sort of hype at the time, and maybe were a wee bit arrogant to it or ignorant to it because we don't watch the Croatian or the Belgian leagues. Club Bruges last night was the first defeat in over 20 games.
1-0 at half time against Man City.
Yep. And we drew with them, and we thought they were a good team when we played them. You know, you could tell. And Zagreb, who I wasn't impressed with, and I was a wee bit, we've put our eggs in one basket in Europe, and I'm not sure they're great shakes. Mark, they finished with 11 points. And didn't qualify, which we all thought 10 would have been the golden number to qualify. They got 11 and didn't make the top 24. So again, I can't help but feel they're nowhere near as miles off it as what's been described to us either, those two teams that you mentioned. So there's got to be credit there as well. Just because we don't know much about the Croatian and Belgian league, basically we don't know fuck all about them. We're just going by reputation. So therefore we expect different outcomes to what reality is.
Is it teams just see the badge above where the country we're from and just totally write us off? And I think the opposite happens with teams like in Italy and Spain and England. I think sometimes these teams like Aston Villa, for talking sake, bad example, but I think they can get results in Europe just by teams being scared to play their own game against these teams because of the league they're from. They just see the big stars. They don't concentrate on the players themselves. They kind of tend to deviate for their own style of play to try and accommodate for the opposition, and sometimes they fuck it up. And we probably get the other side of that, where teams and opposition fans there say, look at Scottish football and say, it's a two-horse race. Teams are probably shit, which they are most of the time. But it doesn't mean Celtic are shit, you know what I mean, or Rangers are shit. It's just sometimes you can only beat what's in front of you. And I certainly felt that way. This is what, like last night, I mean, I'm hearing words like proud and all the rest of it. I don't want to be doing that road. If you talk about the campaign, yes, I'm proud to have got through, but when you hear it post-match against an English team, you're kind of like, oh, it doesn't mean that we should be proud that we nearly got a point.
It's almost
after
feeding into the. It's almost feeding
it
into
does.
their thought process binders or their ignorance to us
well,
beforehand. I know what you mean.
And I said, I genuinely believe 70-80% of that league go to Villa Park on a Wednesday night and get beat. If that's an EPL game last night, I'm going to pluck a team out the hat. I don't know. Wolves, I don't know if they're still in the Premier League. They go there and they get beat sometimes 3-4-0, boys. But see, the exact same thing happens to us, and they're a League One level team. No, the fact of the matter is, teams can be strong at home, and the opposition can be strong as well and still get beat. All of these things can be true at the one time. You know what I mean? They can all be true at the one time. Doesn't mean the opposition is rotten. I mean, Rangers, for talking sake, Spurs couldn't beat them, and Man U took a 91st minute winner against them. So Scottish teams can't be that bad, and Brendan Rodgers mentioned it last night and all. And I always flip it. I always say, you give Man City £2.5 million for winning the league, and you see how far they would get in the Champions League. They wouldn't get very far at all.
When you made that point on here about 3 months ago, it has never left me. It has absolutely stuck me. It's a fantastic argument, because even again, today on TalkSport, Jim White and Simon Jordan, who dedicated yesterday 15-20 minutes to the Celtic Villa game pre-match, and all they spoke about was potential fan bother because Rangers turned over Manchester again. No, I don't expect guys like Simon Jordan to be clued up on Celtic's first 11 and what threats they can pose.
No.
But Jim White, you're expecting a wee bit more like, by the way, though, let's talk about the football aspect here as well. And you then watch the game play out and you go, imagine not showing more intrigue as to the fixture beforehand, right? And then today, of course, it was, well, in a one-off game scenario, anyone can do that. But over 38 games, that Celtic team would struggle, and it would take years for them to eventually become a powerhouse, but they probably would. That was the synopsis, because of the sort of size of club. And I was thinking of you when I was listening to it, going, fucking, I'm tempted to phone in myself and go, these are all just hypothetical arguments, remember, about Celtic joint. It's not going to happen. So it's as hypothetical as saying Man United, in fact, Man United probably do okay because they're real legacy clubs, but sticking to Chelsea, sticking Man City in the SPFL with the revenue streams you've got. Let's see how many fans they take to Dingwall on a Wednesday night. Yeah, let's do that.
And the thing is, as well,
yeah.
And the thing is, as well, when this gets brought up, it'd almost be a case of, okay, Celtic have been doing it to England, right? But we've started to only get Scottish TV money. But if we not get English TV money, no. They say, oh, put them in their league and they would finish 14th. You go, but we're not going to have Greg Taylor as a left back. We're not going to have. Would we be the only team in English football history to be not allowed to spend money? Is that what it would be? I would love to have this conversation with him. I spoke to somebody in Holland a couple of years ago, a Liverpool fan. I was just by the pool when I had my Celtic tap on, I always do. And I was just talking the rest of it. And I said, if I was a football player coming from Spain and I had Celtic or Liverpool to go to, I said, that'd be a decision to make. He's like, it was kind of like batting half. I went, well, if I'm getting 150 grand a week at Celtic, 150 grand a week at Liverpool, I said, what's to tell me? What makes me go to Liverpool over Celtic? What's the difference? One's got an amazing fan base, so is the other. One's got a European history. One is not so good. But they're equal clubs, you know what I mean? There is. In fact, this is the thing. You put us down there in Liverpool and that. Don't get near us. in terms of what we can offer. If you're
Maybe
like,
100,000, mate. 100,000
oh mate,
stadium.
can you imagine saying to a player,
Sold out every week.
Celtic want you? The first thing they say is, I can't go to Scotland, play against St Mirren for 40 grand a week. Or if all of the things, if all of the caveats are took away, and money's not an issue. In fact, I'll give you an example. There's a guy coming for Aston Villa, £70 million, got to the Saudi League, perhaps this week, right? He didn't go there to play in the sand in front of 40 fans. If it isn't for the £2 million a week wages he's getting, or whatever it is, money matters. Money always matters, right? So see money doesn't matter. See when money's an equal issue. It's about where do you want to play? Like Messi, where do you want to play? Do you want to play at Arsenal with these fans that eat sandwiches and take photographs of the opposition players, or do you want to go to Celtic Park? Do you want to go to Ibrox? Like, it's a decision to make. You know what I mean? So it's a decision to make, mate. You know what I mean? And we went off track a wee bit, but
like you said, though, very quickly on that, like Celtic wouldn't stop being able to sign better players. We wouldn't just stand still and keep up the same squad. Celtic as a club, by the way, mate, would then be going, well, Liverpool only went up to a 60,000 stadium within the last 10 years. Man United are 70,000 right now. They went up to that about 15, 16 years ago, I think. Arsenal only went up to 60,000 when they moved to the Emirates. Spurs only went to 60,000 when they moved to their new stadium. Celtic would go down there and be up to 100,000, mate.
Oh,
100.
No doubt.
100. And none of these, I think Liverpool, Man U, probably exceptions to the rule. I think the rest of them don't have 52,000 season tickets to play in the SPFL, mate, let alone 10,000 waiting list.
It's mind-boggling, mate. It's mind-boggling that it's like if you can attract, don't know, 2/3 of the full city to come and watch you on a Saturday afternoon or whatever it is, I could be exaggerating, and no matter where you go, every ticket for Celtic home and away is sold out. Every game home and away is sold out, right? Sometimes people don't go, sometimes people just whatever. But it's always sold out. Do you think if you put Man U for a season, even Man U, I think I'd be 50-50 whether they would even sell out Old Trafford for a season, boys. I really would be. But all that aside,
well, look what you've just said there, though. 100,000 stadium Celtic could have a sellout every week down there. None of those clubs do it presently.
None of them. I know Man U are talking about the 100,000 stadium now, but Man U are probably the only team that's got that. You mentioned legacy. Man U, seeing if Man U slipped to 15th, 16th, they're still Man U. They're a legacy club. They're Man U. See if Man City somehow lost their Saudi money tomorrow, boys. They took the Man City, they lost their money tomorrow. They would turn into the Man City we seen 15 years ago. Because even now with all their riches, they are still putting Champions League tickets on it is on. You get tickets for the Champions League on it is on at Man U. We sell 4-match packages 3 months before the games even start. or 3 months is exaggeration, but we sell them before the dates, the closing date, you know what I mean? We sell our season tickets for the following season and the season we're playing in. We love our season tickets probably through the door in March.
Yeah.
This is what happened like the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And those teams with all their riches and all the rest of it can't compete with that level of enthusiasm, level of loyalty, level of just spark.
Stature and size of club.
Stature. And by the way, Rangers are the exact same, I know. If the exact anything you put on Celtic, Rangers can match it that way, boys. I think almost in every department. We're two massive fish in a pond, but in England, boys, they slag St Johnstone's, but this is the same league who had Luton Town.
Bournemouth in it, mate, paying 150 grand a week. And yet they say as well, do you know what I love? Is the Saudis killing football? I'm like, no. When you've got 11,000 seater stadium club, they could pay 150 grand a week to a player. Do you honestly think that's because of Bournemouth? Shut up. Anyway, we'll move on because it is a hypothetical convo. But I've always, as I say, I love when you flip it the other way.
I would love somebody with your mindset and your conversation with it there to phone one day and speak to Simon Jordan and just say, listen, just something that you might have known 40 before, maybe just a wee shadow in this conversation. Listen, could we not spend the money? We can bring this.
What clubs for your league do it on our terms? on SPFL terms up here. How many of your clubs would make it as successfully as Celtic have, would win the trophy Celtic have, and be in Europe and competing at Champions League level? How many
be
of them would do it?
expected it. And to be expected it.
And we turn over 100 million a year with a 2.5 million TV deal. How many of clubs could do that? So suddenly the backwater league, well, actually, how big are your football clubs? So it would be a great debate. But anyway, time is of the essence. We will move on. But I've always loved that point, Mark. I think it's a brilliant one to keep in mind for a lot of folk if you're watching. I think it's a great way the next time someone asks you that question, just flip it the other way and do what the judge did. Right, okay. Transfer-wise, I touched on, we were talking about it off air. The Kieran Tierney one, obviously, my confidence peaked, and I'll tell you why. See, at the presser for Brendan to just drop it in. Well, we all know he's coming in the summer. That's not really how Celtic marquee these deals, right? This is meant to be, the big sort. So for me, that tells you that bit's done and dusted. Here's me going public. I think he's a confident man. This deal will be done. Of course, throwing out the doubt, and I seen it in the live chat before we went on air, that the Telegraph was reporting that he's staying at Arsenal till the end of the season because they need squad reinforcements, etc., backup players, and he'll be potentially used or needed. Fabrizio Romano, who's been pretty on the ball with this, he was the one that kind of piqued our interest with the fact that Valle was potentially going to Como, which has transpired. And we all thought, well, as much as we could criticise this board, there's no economic benefit to loaning out a guy who's played 20 games this year. It's not the same as Bernabe last year because he was a million miles out the picture. I wasn't actually remotely in competition for a starting berth. Valle, the amount of games he's played, whether you rate him or not, is irrelevant, has been involved, heavily involved. So there's no economic benefit to suddenly go, oh, do you know what, we'll do Como a favour and terminate that loan deal unless there's something in the works. I think Brendan going so kind of blasé at the press conference, and then, of course, Fabrizio, almost within 10 minutes of that article being posted, Mark, is then quote tweeted his own tweet from a few days ago about Celtic pushing to get KT potentially before the window shuts if Arsenal play ball, with a sort of tick emoji, #Celtic. That looks to me, he's saying, didn't listen to the MSM. They're now saying that KT won't be joining. Here's my take on it. I think he is going to join this month because there's no other reason for him to do it. I'm confident that one will happen before this window shuts. That would be a brilliant move.
Well, I did see...
And the necessary one, by the way. Sorry, but a necessary one as well.
Oh, 100%, mate. Honestly, it's like jumping out of a plane if a parachute going through the rest of the season just because like Taylor, you're wanting trouble. But I did see we've got a backup plan in the boy for Man U. Starts with an M, left back. He played a lot in his first season, but then missed away last season for injury. I can't remember his name now, but it seemed to be Celtic or considering that. Or we've spoke to Man U about that. But I hope Tierney's back this window. I would love him. I can't wait for him to come. If it's summertime, fine. Honestly, fine, right? I'll get over it. But I'd love him to come back just now. Genuinely would. I hope Arsenal only just try to drag their heels and be arseholes ways. I really hope that's not the case. Probably a wee bit bitter that we took a £25 million profit and somebody and got to get him back for not a curdy. That would annoy me too. But if I think it was Terry that said last night, there was they had 4 centre backs or four full backs on the bench and played 3 of them and kept him on the bench. I don't know. Maybe he's that isn't a ability decision. I mean, because he's got the ability to probably match any one of the players that came on the park for Arsenal last night. So it might well be the case of they're keeping them fresh for transfers coming up. I really hope that's the case. I did see the Celtic Wade published that story as well, but they probably just gone on the back of the Telegraph's article, or maybe that's what it came for. And I'm hoping Romano wasn't just putting a wee hang out there saying, as I told you, the deal's done, it's just no the new. But Rodgers did kind of announce that. I think Celtic probably made a phone call to Rodgers after that. I think he'll get his knuckles wrapped for that. I think it's come out and he's no meant to make it. He's no meant to say it, boys. I think because Celtic were wanting the fireworks, the look who's back. Celtic were wanting to do that themselves. Knew it's going to be a case of, well, we already know now. I don't know if they announce it.
If you want the fireworks, I tell you how to get them. Bring them this month.
Aye,
that's what Rodgers done, mate. It's a play. Everything he does, I always see this at these pressers, Mark. They're there's always premeditations with these words. There's always something going, read between the lines of what I'm doing here. And that, as you rightfully say, Celtic are like, well, that's not the announcement style that we were going to go for to announce KT's return. He's
No,
like, imagine the fireworks when you do it in January, though, guys. And he's like,
no,
"Fucking
definitely.
that's clever."
Everything's going to be synchronised, mate. I think everything's going to be synchronised pretty well. So the club's all about PR and all the rest of it. We all know that. Hence why the Jota and didn't get announced till Monday, so they could date together with Furuhashi. So it looks like there's, you know, we better hear that to soften the blow. These things, they work in tandem, you know what I mean? And maybe the idea was no officially unveil it until it's going to be right. He's coming this window. Maybe Rodgers has put a wee hang out there. I do think that in terms of this window, I'm genuinely hands in the air, 45 times bitten, twice as shy with Celtic. I'll never trust them wholeheartedly to do the things they should be doing. Is there an improvement in the quality of players we've brought in the last couple of years? Definitely. Is there a higher ceiling in terms of financial outlays? Definitely, unquestionably. Does that make me be confident and we'll keep on doing that road? No, because I've been here before. Some managers get a wee bit of, then they get pulled back down to earth again. I'm not as convinced as you and some others that we will make these decisions. Listen, I'll be as happy as anybody. I'll be as happy as a sandboy if we do bring these players in, genuinely. KT, I think 100% is going to play for Celtic next season. I want him just now. A striker, I'm very, very sceptical. I think Celtic will put out stories to the press. They will look busy. But even though Rodgers has come out and said he wants a striker, I just think the first game back after the window, you're going to see Maeda playing through the middle, and Yang or a half fit Jota being the left winger. I can just see it now. Hope I'm wrong, or either last night might have a Celtic at all, but maybe
You
either
can't
spoke to
just go
Rowan
with
last
either
night.
though on his own anyway. And you
No,
can't.
I totally
Maeda's.
agree.
We're meant to be strengthening the wings with the Jota arrival,
Totally,
not switching
totally agree.
Maeda's position to go back to two wingers. So you're right. I think if we line up after that window shuts, Mark, and the recognised number 9 has competition from a recognised left winger of the season in the shape of Maeda, and the wing positions are then diluted again because it's still just Jota.
Yeah,
That after Rodgers earns you the money, after he gets you, after he brings in the money for the striker who's departed, and that's not then reinvested.
he
And
deserves
then
it, mate.
I'd be fucking raging first and foremost. And I love the fact that I'm that stupid. I can go back to summer 2023, boys, say going, don't you worry, there's time that will happen. And I'm back there right now. But it's evidence-based this time, based on the last two windows. But I think there is legacy issues with the board that are more at the forefront of your mind than mine, which is two sides to the argument, and I totally get both. I think there's been a shift since the nightmare first window Rodgers had, and he's definitely got more
So they are.
hands on the
I
wheel.
agree there. I
But
agree.
the
There's a
guys in the
shift.
room, in the boardroom, are still the same leopards with the
I
same
was going to
spots.
say. I think he's shifted. I don't think they have. But I remember about 3 weeks ago there was very public photographs or publicly said that Rodgers had went over to Ireland to see Dermot Desmond with Lawwell or Michael Nicholson. So I think there was definitely discussions about the window ahead. They don't go to Ireland for a holiday, mate. They went to Ireland to talk about Celtic, talk about business, and it was quite positive talks for what I heard. I'm kind of hoping that it's a new contract for Rodgers. A couple of promises being put to him, or the rest of it. Who knows what it is, right? But see if that involves Celtic pressing the button on 13, 14 million pound Kvistgarden. I find it hard to say that boy's name. Then that is genuine growth. You know what I mean? If they go to 8 million for Jota and 9 million for Ida and 11 million pound for Engels, then within months break that again. That's genuine growth. That is genuine 2024 squad building. You know what I mean? And you touched on it earlier on, and I might have slipped through the conversation a wee bit, but you mentioned Jota coming in, and it's forward planning as well. We're expecting bids for Kuhn, and so I think we're expecting bids for Kuhn. Now, see if we were to lose Kuhn, gutted. But see if we were to lose Kuhn and replace him with a fully fit, fully strong, fully match fit Jota, I'm not going to cry about that. I'm going to miss Kuhn, right? Trust me. But if you can replace Jota with a Kuhn and then replace Kuhn back with Jota again, we're not losing much ability there. Let's be honest here. So that is all right. I think it's been a tap in. I'm not going to lie. It's been a tap in signing, but we still made the signing. We still made it. The guy's still in the building. So that for me, that is. I want to see more of that, boys. I still think this is the same club who has left one left back, who has left one striker, who is left us in a position, albeit slightly unfortunate, but that they've still let go of some centre backs this window and left us in a position where Skills and Trusty was your only options other than bringing the boy who played for Queen's Park 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago rather, and this is
Nawrocki on the
still the
bench.
same. Sorry?
Nawrocki was on the bench.
And and I feel sorry for that guy. I think he's either really, really bad in training or he's got a bad attitude, because I can't think he has a smoking gun moment where that guy's played really bad and you can trace it back to him being out of the picture. There's no smoking gun where you go,
Lagerbielke, you did.
You did.
I
You
thought
mentioned
Lagerbielke looks just not a
Jordan and
Brendan.
Ibrox, and I did
He
it
did-
Europe and all, obviously. But there's
He
no
didn't
smoking
look like
gun
a
moment for
Rogers
this
player,
guy.
did he?
But I can't trace back the Rocky. I can't go at.
There was a
or remember
Bustalgia.
the
Was it
top mark.
Bustalgia he got? Bustalgia, he lost a header or something. But it's one instance. I
That's what
mean,
I'm saying.
Yang's on his. If a cat has 9 lives, how many lives has Yang got?
And Trusty and up, boys, many mistakes has Trusty made, and Arthur Johnson's made mistakes. And I know that's a very small sample size over a lot more good things for Johnson, but I'm just saying Trusty's made a lot of mistakes, but he's forgiven. I mean, the Rocky was still a high outlay, roughly £4 million for Celtic. That's a lot of money. For Celtic, that's still a top earner. That's still a top player. We don't spend £4 million on squad players. If you're £4 million at Celtic and you're a squad player, something's not worked out for you. You know what I mean?
How about you read that, Matt? You'll laugh at that. Nawrocki runs like he shat his pants while trying to pull a tractor.
Maybe maybe that's exactly. Maybe
That's straight for the judges. You've been issuing the early release of your. I know we're about to publish the judges' quips. You know, next Christmas mark. Volume 1 of the judges' best put downs. But
that's a good one.
He must have the draft copy or something. I don't remember posting that one out. Sorry if I did.
I'm going to use that one. Mate. I'm going to use that one.
I thought it was
but it's true though. I mean,
catalog.
I think I just can't think of anything that stands out for that young boy. Though it must be a rotten trainer, boy. He must have a bad attitude. He must do something that we can't see, because there's some players you go at. Did they get a chance? Like Bio, for talking sake, I don't think he got the chance. We got at flop, but this guy's still scoring goals and playing for Watford, I think it is. So that there's a player in there. This guy here, you just don't know, because he's had next to zero opportunity. It's not like Kobayashi where you go, fuck me, man, that boy's just came out of a fucking lucky bag. That this guy's had no chance at all. You know what I mean? I don't understand it, but I think I do think in the case of Cummins, I think that was, I hope it's not the same, but I think it was almost like Ben Doak type. Okay, you want in game time. This is what you can get at Celtic.
Well
Cummins
done,
is
mate. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
I think so. I think
Ben Doak came on against Rangers, wasn't it?
Aye, and I don't think we should have given him that.
But what it tells you was Celtic reacted to there's other clubs sniffing about and potentially already offered deals, and they went right, biggest domestic game, come on in that. Suddenly he's like, right, that's came out of nowhere. Johnny Kenny comes on one game, on his return. I don't think he was eligible to play right enough. But then suddenly now it's Cummins being fast forward, and I do believe you're absolutely right. Reeks of Ben Doak stuff where you're going, it's now last ditch. See to warding off interest for the big vultures, you know, when it was Ben Doak, whatever. Give them a plan and give their agent a plan of what you intend to do. Show them what the pathway is and value them somewhere. Don't wait. until other clubs can come in without asking your permission to take him out of your hands. I don't
Well,
then
that's what
go,
Darren O'Dea's
oh,
for,
but
boy,
there's 20 minutes. Like,
that's
let's
what
get...
Darren O'Dea's for. Darren O'Dea's supposed to be this wee island in the middle of the ocean. It's supposed to be this guy who's going to be giving the pathway to players, you know what I mean? To Celtic's credit, slightly, they've saw a lot of players leave the building, and they've created a new post, a pathways manager, right? Somebody who's in charge of making pathways, or at least giving some sort of, future planning to these guys' careers, if it's going to be at Celtic, if it's no, to help them move on. Cummins, for talking sake, I think he scored 6 goals in the Champions League B team. You've set up. He scored something like fucking 30 goals in 40 games or something for the B team. See any level that demands some level of interest for the first team. Whether that means on the bench, part of match day squads. I've seen some right rotten players come through Celtic and get in match day squads. A lot of them are doing podcasts and all that now. You know what I mean? I'm not going to mention Simon Ferry's name, but that's what happens, boys. You lose these players by not giving them a chance. And do you know what? Last night I felt was like Rogers mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, or maybe more than that. He said, if players want to go, fine, but they got to be patient if they stay here, because it doesn't get handed to you. You look at Anthony Ralston, Callum
That's
McGregor.
one, yeah, but that's one side of it. I think also what you're looking for the modern player, Mark, is what is the pathway? If there's a pathway manager, show me it and put a value to me that actually matches that you do believe there's a trajectory in my career that's within Celtic. And if you're not even going to be looking at a new deal for me and let it run to the point where other vultures can come in and get me, and I still don't actually know where I stand here, why wouldn't you? That's the problem. And I think it doesn't mean this guy goes on to be a world beater. But what it did look like last night, just like the Ben Doak one, was hash bash decision. Give him some minutes because we're in panic stations now because other clubs are seeing something that we've actually not. Right. And I get you with that one. I get you with that one.
I hope I'm wrong, but unless it's part of a bigger picture.
Great comparison. It's a great comparison.
Unless it's part of a bigger picture, but we can't promise you game time, do you know? But you know what? The issue is we've lost our first choice striker. People are going to get elevated up, and you can be part of the plans for the rest of this season and pre-season. We'll take it for there. That's a plan. No flagging him in with 10 minutes to go because he's got an offer for Bayer Leverkusen. That's what happened to Ben Doak. The chance of Ben Doak, I think his decision was already made. Instead, they just give him one last chance. And don't forget, that match was the 3-0 game under the lights, the first game back with the fans. That was a big match. Time seems to dilute how big these teams was. They were really big games at the time, really massive games for Celtic. It was pivotal in that season. We don't win that match.
In the manager's plans in that game.
Aye. And, it's almost like it's been a club decision rather than just being a football decision. And last night, didn't stink of that, but it did give me a wee sniff at it.
I'm all with it.
The boy, we're playing Rafe Rovers in a couple of weeks' time, boys. See if that boy can't go on the bench and get half an hour in that game. I think it's time to get yourself to fuck. You know what I mean? And so I hope last night wasn't just a wee kind of partner. No, I think
it's the last ditching, mate. I think it's the last ditching. We do have a plan. See, you are part of the thought process, but there's nothing that's been. See, when you're in employment, mate, you're wanting to always know there's a future for you. There's going to be progress. You don't be given that, and then suddenly there's a wee hash bash idea. Put him in the team. Do you think you'll have someone in his ear going, well, they're only doing that because they've got wind that X, Y, and Z are talking to you? That's not a plan. And if that's how they do it now, but clubs who don't work with you every day can see what you're capable of and value you, there's your decision to make. The return of Jota we spoke about, Mark, I think it was classy watching him come back. I mean, within 18 months, to see the way he's conducted himself again in the interviews reminds you as well what a fucking... I don't want to be all cheesy because it's not really my style, this sort of thing. I don't usually look for it. But that's a role model as well, mate, for your youth coming up through. That's a hero, mate, to actually kind of hang your hat on if you're the younger generation and go, look at how much this guy is a complete model professional. Look how he speaks. Look how much he absorbs about not just the football side of things. This is someone I think who represents Celtic in the best possible manner. I wouldn't want a team of them. So I think you need to be nasty streaks. You need different personalities. But him coming back, there's a charm about him. But you know what I love about him as well? Despite how humble he is in all his interviews, once he actually crosses the white line and goes in the grass, he has an aura, he has an arrogance, and he has a presence. So he does both sides brilliantly. I think he'll become a better player than what we had before under Rodgers as well. And I think we kind of both, and most people I think on the bus, were both sort of, what could have been? We couldn't turn down 25 million, but it'd been great to see Rodgers work with him for a bit. Fast forward 18 months, he's 25. Let's not keep pressure on him. I know you're concerned about, obviously, he's only started 26 games in that 18-month period. So we can't put crazy pressure on him. My opinion is, domestically, give him 2-3 weeks, he'll hit the ground running. He'll just get there quick. I'm confident. But in the long run, over the 5.5-year deal he signed, fucking hell, mate, you've won a watch at that price.
I hope folk are patient with him, because we can't expect him to be. See if he gets game time when he's no. The guy looks like he needs to put on a stone and weight, boys. He looks totally. He admitted himself that I'm not in a very good place just now, physically, and maybe that's why he didn't work out for him in France. You know what I mean? So we need to give him a bit of time. I think. So, see if he doesn't play World Cup balls and start scoring 25 yards within the first 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think we should start flattening about that. I think we might see the best of him with the next break with Rodgers. It may even be summertime.
Next season.
A full pre-season with him, and that look at Kuhn with a pre-season, boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A bit.
That's a succession planning again, though, as well, isn't it?
It is succession plan. But see, Jota, I think Jota just now is a bonus player. So see if he isn't his top until next season. Is it really going to derail this season, boys? Probably no. Right, let's be honest. For me, it's a bonus. We probably normally just now get a £1 million player for Poland in, who's a project. We got somebody who can do it, who's proven he can do it, and can probably maybe even eclipse what we've got. We can. You know what I mean? Potentially, aye. You know what I mean?
There's something we spoke about massively at the time when Jordan Larson was being linked with Celtic, and I think we were both in agreement that everyone's became a football accountant these days, right? Everyone's worried about. Where's the romance anymore? I remember we used to say, when's the last signing Celtic made that you knew what you were getting and you couldn't believe you were getting them, right? So there's that, cinematic feel to it where you're going, I'm back watching the best movie in the world here. Now, I think when Jota comes off the bench, potentially this weekend, you'll feel it. And it'll be goosebumps and it'll be, wow. What? We're going to do that twice this month, I think, with KT as well. And I think this bit gets lost on a lot of people. Everyone wants to look at everyone so business-like and so almost like they're playing Football Manager themselves with it. The reason you're a Celtic fan is because you're in love. Otherwise, why the fuck would you be doing this still? Do you know what I mean? You're bound by something that drives you absolutely fucking up the wall half the time and brings you unbridled joy other times, but frustrates the life of you throughout. So what used to annoy me, and we discussed it with the Jordan Larson one, was we've never seen enough of just go out there and make fans go, wow. There's the love heart eyes, and going, wow. When was the last time, Robbie Keane when he arrived, stuff like that, going, fucking cannot believe that was just a loan. Jota returning after 18 months and KT, the prodigal son, coming back in the 1 month. These are not just, let's forget the football for a minute. Let's forget what the fees we sold them for. Let's look at this from a whetting fans' appetite point of view, making the younger generation fall in love again with headlines they can't believe they're reading. Because these are statement signings as well.
Yeah.
In Celtic land, particularly with Jota, he's a huge name. I think I agree with you. In European context, if not world, Kieran Tierney is a big fucking name, mate, joining us. Both entering the peak of their powers. And I feel like that gives you a bit of Celtic back. And we've been sorely lacking that. Every signing is, I need to do my homework on him. Never heard of him. And hopefully he's good. No. Who knows? These two coming back are like heroes coming back at a brilliant age, brilliant profile, and allows that dreamy sort of feeling for a younger generation to happen. Like we had so many times, by the way, I remember like Sutton signing, you're going, right. He might not have had a great year, but that was a golden boot winner Premier League. You're going, we're getting Chris. Then it was John Hartson, 6 million and stuff. You go, fucking hell. I mean, business here. Those moments have completely fucking petered out. Suddenly might be getting two for the price of one in the one window. Just your thoughts on that, because I think that's such an important element of the club as well, is letting the fans be allowed to get, a wee bit, all lovey-dovey about players coming in a bit starstruck. And I think those two provide that.
Oh, without a doubt, mate. You know what I mean? If you can't be buzzing about the two, then there's something wrong with you, or you're chattified and negative. I mean, even if I find it hard to take away the football ability and then my excitement, because I think the two of them are quite combined. But even just in terms of like where it brought me back to some good times at Celtic, like Kieran Tierney playing for Celtic was some good times for Celtic. You know what I mean? He was like a mainstay, a fucking really exciting Celtic team. He's coming back, probably a better player. I think Jota mentally is probably going to go back with a point to prove and be better for it. So that's exciting and all. And you're right, we don't get many exciting signings because the landscape is new there. We can't offer the same money relatively as what teams like Bournemouth can pay now. Boys, you just don't forget, we took Leicester's manager, Leicester's captain, Aston Villa's midfielder, Chelsea's one bad season striker, who the 2 years before it was tearing up in EPL. You know what I mean? The days are over, right? The days are finished, right? So we can't get excitement that way. So when we're making signings where the fans are going, oh, for fuck, look at that, what a signing that is. We don't get much of them anymore. We did get the odd. We saw something on YouTube and thought, oh my God, get him in.
But we have to create the heroes, don't we now? We are the club that creates the heroes now. Whereas,
and you know something, this is the first time in my lifetime
heroes. Sorry, I go on.
That's the first time in my lifetime and yours that we've sent away our star options and they've come back and been at the peak of their powers. I mean, this isn't Frank McAvenny, Andy Walker, Charlie Nicholas.
Sean Maloney.
These are the guys coming back in their mid-30s and for one last payday. This is guys that are coming back. I mean, a 27-year-old Kieran Tierney, potentially one of the best, in my opinion, there is in his position. Jota, who only needs the same love he got the last time and he will flourish. That excites me as much as, what they can offer, just as a star name, you know what I mean? But they'll sell T-shirts, they'll sell jerseys, they'll get the kids excited. This could be, Kieran Tierney will be the Wayne's new Wayne's new Kyogo. Kyogo's left him now. So the kids, at Celtic, there's always a star player. There's always one star player who's on all the Wayne strips, on all the Wayne's bedroom walls, you know what I mean? When I was younger, it was Paul McStay or John Collins. For me, it was John Collins. I love John Collins. But Kieran Tierney's going to provide that. And Jota as well. He's got the flamboyant hair. He's a very intelligent wee guy. When he talks, you listen. He's quite flamboyant. Wears denim tops and denim trousers. Who else can do that and get away with it? He can do it. Kids get excited by that. You know what I mean? He's quite brandable as well. He's a bit like a trademark within himself. Kids love all that, you know what I mean? And we're sending away players and we're bringing back better players, and we don't do that.
Heroes as well. That was the point I was making. Like, usually we have to create the hero, right?
No,
they become heroes once they've gone. These two coming in are actually coming in as heroes.
Yep.
That's the bit I think. It's not because I'm like branding the rest of like the football side of it irrelevant. I've just been homing in on that side of it. It's just so refreshing. It's so great to see, and capturing the imagination is a huge thing.
Definitely, and I guess I think it's put a wee spark back in our season. See if these two come in. Well, Jota's already here, but see if it gives a new spark, a bit of life. The Celtic season isn't over by. We're going for a treble, for fuck's sake. I mean, how could it get any better? We're in the last. Well, we're in the playoffs in the Champions League. We've made it through the first stage.
We've got Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, and we've got a rivals Overton a 3-0 defeat to last time.
Of course, that's it.
And the Scottish Cup to win.
A Scottish Cup to win. We've got
a league to see out.
Yep, and even the league to see out. You know what I mean? It sounds like there's nothing. Celtic, I think Celtic matters about. We could be 40 points ahead just now, but the Celtic fans' mindset is look at Fir Park on Sunday. That's a play. We just look at that's a hard place. We look at the match as it comes along. So we've got another 20 minute cup finals to play this season in Celtic taps. You know what I mean? These guys, I think they've breathed a bit of fresh air back in it, because it can go stale. See, being 13 points in front or behind, it can. I'm not saying the buzz left the stadium, but it can go stale a bit, right? And we can admit that sometimes you go, I'm happy we're at this stage, we're 13 points clear, but it does lose a wee bit of its edge. See, bringing in these types of players.
Yeah.
The first home game back at Celtic Park, and Kieran Tierney and Jota's in the lineup. Trust me, you'll smell that excitement about the stadium. You know what I mean? You feel that. I watched a clip the other day there. It was Maeda's debut and Hatate's debut. I think it was like end of January. It was against Hibs. I was at the game, and that game had that in it. That game had that. And when Maeda scored his first goal after a couple of minutes, the roar was unreal. And you heard it on the telly, on the clip when I watched the other day there. That was a mid-season game. All right, Celtic were trying to win a title against Rangers. It was neck and neck. But that was a run-of-the-mill match against Hibs on a Wednesday night. Nothing more exciting than that. But that place was packed that night with Hatate and Maeda making their debuts. It was wild stuff, you know what I mean? These guys are coming in with sort of clips, the rest of it. And
Kyogo has been a huge part because of the success Kyogo had shown in the first half of that season. We thought, oh, wow. So that was actually what their hype was. You were going, they've actually got more caps than Kyogo. What? That's what it was, because it wasn't big fees. They weren't coming from big, massive CVs, but it was the Kyogo hype, because you're going, fucking hell.
Well, Kyogo and
higher.
Well, Kyogo and Maeda are probably unique to this, to Britain. Kyogo, when he came in, we were like, I've never saw a guy work like that in my life. Never seen a guy work so hard in my life. Then folk were saying, wait to see Maeda. This guy's going to make Kyogo look lazy. And you're like, what? How can that possibly be? And then you went, oh, aye, this guy is. There's probably no. If there's more than one Maeda in the world, I want to find him. I mean, before anyone else does, because he's just football ability wise. I think you can find him 10 a penny. But his work rate, his speed of thought, his positional strength, his pressing, I think is of the highest quality possible. His first touches, I mean, if you put his body, if you put Jota in his body, that is Ronaldo.
Never seen either of them at Celtic. Oh, aye.
That is like a one-half player, boys say. It's like a one-half player. But I remember we got a wee bit of budget at the time because there was something fresh coming in. All right, we were fighting for a title and it was neck and neck. And the following weekend, midweek, I think we went Tapia League against Rangers. My timing might be wrong there. So it was getting dead exciting for Celtic at the time. But the stadium was packed that night. And it was anticipation to see these two boys, you know what I mean? And they delivered. And, you know, that's what I think these two guys will bring to the club. I'm not as convinced as you are, but we're going to get Tierney this window. I fucking hope so. Honestly,
I'm hoping that Fabrizio's went, I've told you something. And I think, again, I'm just trying to use examples to strengthen the argument. I'm going, Roger saying that would be a real, like, sort of busting a balloon sort of thing if that's not a man who's quietly confident. But listen, it's not done yet, so who knows? I want your thoughts just before we go. I know I've kept you too late, Matt, but very quickly, there's a lot of talk now in the chat. It's just coming up. There's a bit of worry that Celtic actually might not have away fans in the next round of the Champions League.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, mate.
I mean, I don't like that. If it happens and there's reasons for the punishment, and we all knew them before. But if I'm honest, I'm not quite sure at the Bernabeu or at the Olympic Stadium in Germany how much difference it makes in terms of actually what will happen in the park. But are the fundamental reasons for it, is this consistently repeating the same mistakes? Is this harsh treatment? Would you have it any other way?
I must admit, I've spoken about this before with the Ibrox situation. I think that pocket of away fans does matter, boys. I think the players like that focus, and the Celtic fans will be heard. So I did get a point on that, but I think that does matter. In terms of anybody that's maybe known on the news, the Celtic fans flung a flare on the park, and they were told that next time it happens, the next away game will be banned for away fans. Now, I remember there was a kind of concerted effort by the ultras groups to tell all their supporters, no flares because we want to get to Villa. I just found it a bit snide that when we've got to Villa, and that was by the way, that was a select few that got there. Some folk did slip through the net, but if you got a ticket for that match, boys, you're connected. You know what I mean? You're either connected or you're got a very, very high European
Yeah, it's
allocation.
either hospitality or it's.
Aye,
I think
right.
the
You're connected
hospitality
somewhere.
folk get a few tickets they can
Aye,
allocate to
I've
let
got next
people
to
in.
no chance to get one. Never right
Yeah,
for a game like that. Uh, so I think it was a bit snide that we got the game we wanted, so we're flying the flare on the park. And I just found that I'm not saying it came from the sections that I'm talking about, but there was no, I think there was any doubt whatsoever that the last away European game there was going to be flares, or the last home game. We all kind of knew that they're going to be behaving themselves because they don't want to miss out in Villa. And then we get there, and then suddenly things are flare in the park. I thought that's quite naughty. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I see if one person is ruined, and Celtic fans have had a lot to cheer about in Europe recently. See if one person's ruined 3,000-4,000 travelling fans a chance to get away a European playoff match. I think they deserve what's coming their way. I always say the guy who flung the bottle at the player, Atletico Madrid player in the 80s, and made Celtic play a replay which we lost. I hope that guy never slept one day the rest of his life. I hope he suffered every day the rest of his life. He cost Celtic, I think it was a quarter-final place in Europe, just because he wanted to fling a bottle on the park. Celtic had to replay the match and we didn't Old Trafford and get beat 3-0. And we won the match quite comfortably at Celtic Park. And I hope that guy never slept another night in his life. I genuinely wish him the worst things. And see these boys at the end like that, they've probably ruined the chance for a Celtic fan who's been going to Celtic Park for somebody maybe even your age, boys, mid-30s,
sure.
who's never saw
Thanks
Celtic
for
play a
that.
playoff match in Europe. He's been going for 20 years now to every away match, but never saw us play at that type of level.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I know we had the Juventus stories, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah. No,
when
I get you.
you're being very
I get
selective
you.
here, boys. You're talking 2-3 times, right? Potentially the first ever chance to get away. I just find that if somebody's did that, boys, I find it a wee bit naughty. Do you know what I'm talking about?
See the fact there was one individual who's done it.
Aye.
There'd be a massive argument from your point of view where we could go, well, do you know what? That one mind-numbing incident that's occurred has cost us. Here's another angle, and I'm not saying it's my view. I'm just putting it out there. I feel when you watch social media, now social media wasn't a thing when we were doing all these big away trips and actually going there to try and compete before.
Mm-hmm.
It seems more prevalent, but that might be just because there's more exposure. The attitude to going to England, for example, last night was already of a rebellious nature, if you like, which is fine. But it's almost like there's. I always think, but again, I could be totally wrong because there was no Twitter and all that when we went to Blackburn, for example. We took half the stadium then. If you remember, there was pockets of Celtic fans. But I remember the debate, but again, limited in terms of exposure. But the debate seemed to be back then all about we're going to show them how it's done because they've doubted fucking the King of Kings. They've doubted Martin O'Neill. They've doubted our team. We actually beat them 1-0 at home. And it seemed more football related. Whereas the backstory on the socials leading up to the Villa game did feel, and I'm not just talking about that talk sport thing, fuck all that. I'm talking about what I'm seeing on my social media feed, did seem to be about Villa fans pre anticipating Fenians coming down and Celtic going down with the royal family in mind and that sort of thing. And a lot of posts about let's bring the worst, well, not the worst, like the like the songbook that will cause the
It
most
was
antagonism,
a tragic
right?
guy.
And I think that then makes it more likely for there to be then that one instance of, someone chucking a flare. The chances of that are well increased if it's not about the football as much and it is about all that stuff. But again, can't deny it may have always been this way. You just didn't see it as much because you weren't as exposed to every single fan who's going down there's sort of thoughts and mindset.
No,
Whereas now you do see it, just retweets and folk you don't even follow. You're seeing there, I can't wait. I'm more interested. I think there's one of them said, I'm more interested in the back and forth with the Villa fans than I'm the game before
I
it, and
couldn't believe that, mate.
I got like over like 1,000 likes, and I thought,
Well, put it this way, boys.
was that happening before, or am I being sentimental, Mark, and thinking
No,
it used to be just about the football?
no, I don't think you are. I think there's definitely a mindset change in the fans nowadays to what there was 20, 30 years ago. See, the thing is, the guy who's flung that, he's been mad with it, he's been pissed, he's been drunk, you name it. But see last Monday when he was sitting on the internet, when he bought that, he wasn't pissed. He's bought that sober, put it in his bag or put it in his jacket sober, went down there, got drunk, and then flung it in the park. That's been premeditated, Boise. He knew all along he was going to. He didn't go to the pie stand and says, "Can I get 2 hot dogs and a flare, please?" He's bought that stone cold sober the previous week. You know what I mean? And then
Does that necessarily mean he throws it?
no, but well, probably, Boise. I don't think.
I think it's bought, and then I think the environment you're in, that changes sort of the thought process, and one person's over caught up in it. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you, but that could have stemmed from the conversation he's had that week. You know what I mean?
Totally,
because I seen it. I know it was all, but I said I'm not going to lie. If I come in after work, I'm putting on Charlie and the Boys. I'm not putting on the U2. I'm putting Charlie and the Boys on. I'm putting Shabine on, and I'm talking about this house with Kid on. I'm like Smith on. I'm not gonna lie, right? Anybody that knows me knows that's the truth, right? But it's not my first fault. It's not my first fault when it comes to Celtic, boys. 100% my first fault would have been, let's watch this mob and let's show this mob we're not just a Scottish team, we're Celtic, we're going to compete. But there was a lot of conversations, I've seen the same one as myself, where let's show this mob and I actually think the rivalry was what's the word I'm looking for? It was manufactured. I don't think there was any of this conversation 2 weeks ago about Aston Villa and Celtic. None of this. I think the Rangers fans were flinging wee grenades into the Aston Villa support, talking about the Birmingham bombers of 1973 and 74. Listen, they words have never escaped the Celtic fans' lips ever about the Birmingham bombs. Celtic fans who support the IRA and the rest of it, a lot of them will slam the bombings in London as well with the buses and the rest of it. It's not about that, boys. Far from it. But I never heard one talk about the Birmingham bombings and all the rest of it in the Celtic fans' lips. Never ever. So that was never going to be the case getting into that match. I feel like that was manufactured very cleverly online by supporters groups. I think Rangers were involved in that somewhere. No, the club, but Rangers fans were involved in that. Putting up wee posts directly, indirectly to Aston Villa fans, creating some sort of narrative that Celtic are going to come down there and disrespect the people who died. That was never going to be the case. Aston Villa fans were then responding to that online. Then again, that creates a retort. That retort creates a rivalry and it creates a hatred. It creates something that wasn't there. And it
Prince
happens
William
very,
thing
very
as well.
easy. Sorry?
The Prince William being a season ticket holder thing there as well. I think there's
that's a bonus.
I think, see, for me, I always go back to that the game at St Mirren where that word never got out. We were going to do that. The minutes applause and Celtic fans singing, if you hate the Royal Family. I thought it was comedy gold, and I think people are entitled to those views. What I can't be bought with, though, is that never overshadowed what was then to follow in the game. It was your 2 minutes then. Like, if that's the hype, that's all right.
That was me, sorry.
I've given you admin power, and he's now fucking honest.
I didn't mean that. I can take it away.
No,
sorry.
It's like the bass player trying to become the lead singer and fucking just like that at Glastonbury.
I'm sorry, mate.
Should never give him a mic. He's fucking turned the thing up. But I don't want it to be the backdrop and overshadowing the football. See, for me, it was about going down there and proving a point that you aren't as good as you think. Your league's fucking nowhere near as good as you think. Half your clubs are powder puff. We're the real deal. We do it the real way. Yous do it the artificial way, well, your fake money and all that sort of carry on. And then the element, of course, the element of rivalry with it being a Scotland England team. Then if Prince William's there, we're going to point out that your brother is what he is, and You can't say, what kind of file it is. Right, on YouTube, or you just get banned, right? But all that stuff, I get to a point. But if it's taking over your emotions and you're that caught up in it that you're going to then throw the there was always going to be pyro, but to throw it in the pot, I'm going, that's really frustrating, and it spoils what would be a good trip for a lot of people.
I never saw it, Boise. I never saw it until this morning.
Yeah,
I never even saw it at all, mate. And I was actually a bit gutty when I saw it, because my first thought was, they poor fans who have been choking to get booked up, and I think it's probably obvious now they're going to get banned, aren't we?
I think
They
so.
are. I hope no. Hopefully they get a big fine.
I also think as well, see when you build up with the amount of fines as well, I think some of them think the Palestinian flag thing is a joke. I mean, I know my cynical side goes, I don't think enough folk know what they're talking about with some of these issues, and they're sheep, albeit I'm actually all for it, but I don't know if everyone's as clued up as they make out. But that being banned, but then they bring in, like, you do Ukraine flags okay, but the Palestinian ones not.
No.
That fucks me off, right? But regardless of that, we're unjust or not, they were accumulative of fines. Then there's been other issues with the pyro and things like this over the Celtic's on the naughty step already. So you're going in with a booking, mate. Second bookable offence, it's a red. That's the problem. Some of it unjust, as I say, like showing solidarity with Palestine. What's the problem with that? You pick and choose what countries we can show solidarity with, but we're allowed to do it with the movie stars country, Ukraine. No problem. But that wouldn't be ever a fine. Palestine would. Now, fans have got a point to go, well, that's not fair. True. But what I'm trying to say is they still did it. They still fined us for it all. And then you're on this cusp of a ban. And we've built up a game that had no consequence to whatever outcome was going to be in the Champions League unless a miracle of results put us in that top 8. And you've got that emotive about it, I think, because of stuff off the field, not remotely on the field, that's led to someone throwing that flare or whatever. And yeah, and you know what, I take your point as well about the away end going, there is an advantage to having a corner. I maybe been a wee bit dismissive. I was just thinking the size of the European stadiums and probably the likelihood that we're getting a pummeling. But I do take your point. Of course, it's an amazing thing, and it actually denies the fans that chance as well. More importantly, from the players' side, from the players' point of view, denies fucking, you're at the Olympics, they have 6,000, 5,000 fans, something like that. The opportunity to go, I was in Munich when potentially you do get a 1-1 draw. Something like that, or like a historical
I know,
moment.
and there might be 3, 4, 5, 10,000 fans travelling through there, no matter if they get tickets or no. Probably will be a case that they're still going to go and stay in hotels and go to a fan zone and all the rest of it. But I think it's good for the fans. It's good for the players, right? We've already spoken about that. But it's good for the fans and all to be able to go there and support their team. And there'll be a lot of folk absolutely spitting feathers this morning that the chance of going to there has been took away from them for something so silly. And I agree with you. All these wee things add up to this ban. You don't get this ban for a first offence. This is probably your 10, 13, 14. Doesn't mean I don't. Do I think pyros add a lot to football? Maybe I'm just an old boring bastard getting. I don't think they can look nice. They don't.
They're
To me,
right,
they don't.
aren't they? It's
They're
not a
right,
unique
right.
Celtic thing.
No, they don't. But do I like them? Probably no. But should they be banned? No, they shouldn't be banned. They should be allowed to use them, right, if they're safe. But we've been told we can't use them. That's the point. And it's like, don't wear a brown jumper. I'll buy 2. Some folk will always just go. Some folk will just do that, boys. You know what I mean? Don't buy a brown jumper. Don't buy brown jumpers. That's in the 70s, for fuck's sake. But you know what I mean?
And then the thought of that crazy, actually take it that step further to throw it. If my thought process is right, and that's actually an emotive decision based on non-football stuff that you've got yourself psyched up about, as you say, out of nowhere the last 2 weeks, it just came as a tidal wave. That is frustrating, is it not?
When I watched Club boys, because we've been warned for our fans invading the pitch, and it's been going for, remember PSG, AC Milan, although that was stupid. Then it happened again in the group stages this season, and we've been warned for our fans invading the pitch. We've been warned for our fans flags and all the rest of it. And I agree with the Palestine stuff. I'm all for supporting these causes, so blah blah blah. I don't get down that road, but we're told we can't do it and all the rest of it. It's just it adds up and adds up and adds up. But
Yeah,
I don't think you get this if you're a first-time offender. It's Celtic are probably in the same boat as your remaining clubs who follow all these crazy nut jobs. We'll be watched as closely as this mob now. Not
yeah,
because we're psychotic idiots, because we just say silly things en masse. And
yeah. And
that
it's
boy who
cheap,
did
mate.
that, it just,
I think. See the
I
way
just
you
don't.
said it there. You went. This is came out of nowhere. Or suddenly talked about bombs in Birmingham and that. That's only came about the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The last week. And to think someone's had that like crazy moment where they've actually kidded themselves on, they really fucking are invested in hating Aston Villa. Oh, I've never told you that before. I've always hated Villa. That's the one team I always wanted to play in Europe. Like, shut up. Right? But they've actually get themselves that nick. It's like, fucking hell, there's 5,000 fans missing out a trip to the Bernabeu. The Olympic Stadium
I
gets
know
banned.
what.
That is
I'm gutted for them,
crazy.
mate. I'm gutted for them. I'm gutted for the players. I'm gutted for the fans who and see, the thing is, we get fans who will go to Bratislava away on a Tuesday night,
Yeah,
then go back to their work on Thursday. And that
sure.
is how dedicated, and they're going to miss
Incredible.
this.
Yeah,
They're going to miss this, Boise, because
we hate Aston
some
Villa.
arsehole. And I'm
They're our
sorry,
biggest rivals.
you're an absolute arsehole. The person who flung that flare, if you're 15 or whether you're 50, you're an utter arsehole. You know what I mean? I'm going to say this, right, and I mean this. And I'll tell this to the guy's face, you deserve banned for life.
Oh,
Not because you
100%.
did that. No, not because you did that thing. Is because you knew the consequences of doing that thing and you still did it.
Yep.
Throwing that flare in isolation, I don't think is going to crumble the full stadium down. Who cares? But that person knew by doing that, by buying it sober, by taking it sober, then flinging it when they're drunk, they knew at every stage by doing that, Celtic Football Club would have been banned for away fans. And see if you did that, regardless of that, you don't care about your club, you don't care about your fans,
No.
and you're potentially putting at risk
Of course.
Celtic getting a result. Potentially. I mean, I think
Hey,
Celtic, you
ball
look at
boys.
COVID. You
Ball
look at
boys.
COVID, boys,
Also,
the fans
stewards.
work.
You could hit them with the thing as well, by
No,
the way. So
but
there's other people involved. Like,
of course, but you look at COVID, boys. Any Celtic fan tells you there's no a team that feeds off the fans more than the Celtic team. Fine, okay, I back you on that. So why make a decision that you know we could take that?
test the
See
water
if that
again.
adds 5% to see if that makes the Celtic team play 5% better or 10% better. You just took that away in one fell swoop. And I say so. See the time we get just say for instance we get a £30,000 fine, right, for something like that. This is the way I see it. I go like that. That's maybe 4 supporters buses season tickets wiped off. Every man that supporters bus for the season wiped away because of that one idiotic. You know what I'm saying? So
Who doesn't even know what it is they're believing in?
or
It was only
that flare.
found out. It was only found out with the Birmingham bombs or
I
whatever,
just
like a week ago, and I've compelled
it's
I just that's the tragic bit for me. And like someone said in the live chat already, you know when I think it was Joe Henry, when you combine political beliefs and or historical ones that are societal and things like that, and you bring it into how many folk actually have a grasp of what they're talking about and how many don't, but how many folk are convinced they are just because they're in that moment, and that worries me. That's what worries me. But
it's silly, isn't it? See in the 1950s, right? This is a cause that I can get behind, right?
go on.
The 1950s, the Hibernian director and the SFA got together and tried to get Celtic flung out of the league because they flew tricolours at Celtic Park. The Hibernian director and the SFA, I'll say it again, Hibernian, right, tried to get Celtic flung out of the league. Bob Kelly refused to take the tricolour down for Celtic Park. Now that's a stance that you make every day of the week. Every single day of the week. You pay every
It's because you had to
fine.
pay someone to get it though.
You fight every battle, Boise, and you do everything you can. You fight that. That's a battle I can get behind. See, we battles that are silly like that cost the club in the long run, I can't get behind. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, we're long in the tooth enough, me and you. Thanks for telling everyone about my mid-30s age, mate. Earlier on. But we're
I'm going
long
to
enough
see
just
a
to
chat,
know.
by the way. See a cat sitting on there when the show's on. It's probably because of the heat off your lamp. See the on-air lamp. That's probably what it is. See the bit behind you, that wee. I think that's a mystery solved.
Don't say that, mate. I've convinced myself it's my takes on Celtic that he loves.
Ah, well,
when I come off air, the way he purrs on my eyes, like, bang on there, by the way, about Jota. I'm like, cheers, mate. I'm like, I'm just dishing out treats, and he's like, hey, see that take tonight about fucking Adam Eder, mate? You're fucking the man. I'm like, oh, fucking cheers. He's like, keep shaking with that hand with the fucking treats in him. Anyway, we will leave it there. Judge, thanks for going so long tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone who's stuck in. There's been over 150 live for most of the show, so a big shout out to you all. I am sure the Friday Feeling will be back tomorrow. Still loads of other takes we could be doing on Celtic. So much news could happen in the next 24 hours as well. So remember, hit that bell so you don't miss the bus tomorrow. Mark, I will see you soon. Cheers for that, pal.
Cheers, mate.